Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Lovergan. This is Media Watch. We're doing a show of the Zoom tonight. I'm here on the satellite, as I always am, for the show. Rob, however, had to return to Earth to do some business, and so he'll be virtual. Not viral, I guess it is. That's virtual, I guess that's what they would say it. I always get those confused and so on. Anyway, we're here tonight, of course, to talk about the news events and so on. Always something going on, as far as I always tell people, that the news cycle is a 24-hour cycle, and something new comes along. I mean, they can't keep selling pillows if they don't have some new news all the time. And this is what it is. And we just examine those things in the news. And to some degree, at least, we talk about the idiosyncrasies of news people and so on. That the not idiosyncrasies, idiotic things that sometimes they say. At any rate, Rob is with me. You can show a picture of Rob so everybody knows that he's here. There he is. There.
Yours from an undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location, right? For secret. I don't know exactly where he is, actually. that's the beauty. The beauty I do know, actually. That's the beauty of this new technology we have. You can do a TV show from someplace. God knows where you are, and everybody is that everybody that wants to see it can see it. Anyway, I'll let you start it off, Rob. What do you want to talk about tonight first?
Well, I was thinking about there's a phenomenon we've been noticing in the last few years, easily expressed as facts don't matter. And I'd like to do a few facts don't matter pictures, actually.
Okay.
So just to get us rolling. So maybe if we did picture number 100, the facts matter game. I think, yeah. To me, this is a lot of what present-day struggles are about. I'll read this one aloud in case people can't see it so well.
Please do.
This is, sorry, Arthur, your answer was actually correct, but Paul shouted his opinion louder, so he gets the point. And an extra bonus point also goes to Sue, as she was offended by your answer. So I feel like that a lot of the time, that I've got the correct argument, I've got the correct facts, but apparently someone has decided that they're offensive, or you can't say that or something.
Yeah.
Or that perhaps someone could say it, but I, as a white male, cannot. I didn't used to tiptoe around things because of what I looked like in the mirror, but times change, and sometimes we have to adapt. I'm not liking it.
I just read today that the University of Southern California has you cannot use the word field in any kind of like football. I guess football field, or there's a field of ideas or something like that. It has this racist connotation. The word field.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about, basically?
I haven't lived as a minority, but it's not clear to me what exactly it is about field that's supposed to make anyone feel oppressed or whatever.
Cotton field, of course, that's slavery and all that. The
okay.
Racist to use that term.
Can I use it for the engineering field or the musical instrument production field or things like that?
Right, exactly, yeah. How about that movie, Field of Dreams? They're going to have to rename that movie, I guess, because that's using the word field. I think he won an Academy Award for that.
Yeah, I would have thought that James Earl Jones would have objected more if it were offensive enough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
That's kind of stupid.
I quote from HMS Pinafore for this. It's a queer world.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with stuff. But all of these school districts now, a lot of them got elected, especially in our county, in Santa Barbara, North County. In fact, there's a lot of school districts that elected these people are against the woke idea and culture. I forget all the things they do and so on. They've elected these guys, and the first thing they do is fire the superintendent. Got rid of the superintendent right off the bat.
Well, the superintendent was probably doing what the previous majority liked.
Yeah, right.
And
well, he paid for it. He paid for it with his job.
The superintendent is essentially a hired hand, a manager. It's like a CEO that the board of directors can fire.
Yeah, just wonder where this stuff comes from, though. So, and I'm not sure that's topic oriented what you're talking about and so on. But
no. But in fact, I'd like to go on with a little bit of the fact-free concept for a moment. I have I got a picture I labeled 110 that is it shows what an article that ABC published, and right there in their own subheading, they actually completely undercut the theme of the title.
Yeah.
So yeah, take the colorful stuff there I added, but that
extreme weather.
The article here, they're saying rise in heart disease may be explained by extreme weather conditions.
Yeah,
and then what's their subhead? It's not clear why temperature shifts correlated with more heart attacks. Well, if it's not clear why, then you don't have any idea whether that's a causal factor or not.
Did they quote some kind of study? Usually that's they get some kind of study by authorities.
Yeah, that, as the picture showed, the real cherry on top is that they're saying the connection isn't clear. So I'm just going to say the connection isn't clear. Maybe you don't have a connection.
All right.
I mean, it was right there on their first page.
Yeah.
So anyway, everybody's in on it. ABC News is in on a fact-free, whatever the heck we feel like saying, presentation. And again, I'm old-fashioned. Who knows? Maybe even you are. And we kind of like a few, logical, plausible connections why one might think that A is the cause of B before you start trotting out, all sorts of suppositions that A is the cause of B.
I'll give you a thought here too. That I've thought about this. Maybe we just have too much news. I mean, they got to keep going. Like I say, to sell those pillows, they got to have to keep going on and on about all kinds of little things. They're showing these little dog movies, and which I like dogs and so on. But I love dogs. But maybe what was this guy's name that did the CNN? I forgot his name. The guy that started in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, Ted Turner.
Ted Turner, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't do a service for the populace by getting the news all the time, 24 hours, 7 days a week,
all right, well,
forever, news and so on, because that defined news.
Yeah, we have to note that when that came along, it was like a perfect storm because we were watching the Warsaw Pact nations of that are forcibly associated with the Soviet Union beginning to break loose. We're watching the labor union movement in communist Poland, in Gdansk, with Lech Walesa gaining steam. And then we watched the Soviet Union coming apart. And this was in 1989.
Yeah.
And at the time, a 24-hour news cycle seemed perfect because that stuff was moving fast. I mean, every time I got up, I turned on CNN immediately because I wanted to know what had happened overnight.
Right.
So that was a perfect storm as far as launching.
Well, it might have been a good event to do it but then at some point, as I think you suggested there, they make up the news. They just make up stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like you said, they need to fill that. We have to have some reason for you to tune in, even if they have to have experts come on. And just,
no. They're always experts. They're always the authority. Then they quote, he's a professor of this, and he's done that. He got a couple medals from this, and he got so on and so forth. That's always that. They
engineering
don't quote him. It
world.
says some Joe Schmuck that lives in someplace and's connected to New York or someplace. We found this guy, and he's. I think I've heard that recently. In fact, that when the reporter wants to make a statement and he wants to get a guy, he's got a Rolex or whatever they call them these days, and he has a person that he can contact that he knows is going to agree with him. But now he's the authority.
You and I used to know such a person. That was the late and very great bounty hunter Bob Burton.
Yeah.
I knew him because he was a friend of friends, and I was drinking with him. And then one day I turn on CNN, and there he is being consulted on TV.
Yeah.
About.
They sent a limo up here in Santa Barbara to bring him down to CNN. I remember that.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, he was being consulted about finding some particular fugitive.
Yeah.
And I never forget the beautiful thing that he said, because they're saying, well, how would you find somebody like that who's probably with friends, is probably hiding? And he said, I find his Judas. Somewhere in the people around him, there's somebody who does not like him.
That's true. No wonder that the CNN called on him for all that stuff and so on. I know that's what I had forgotten about that. Bob Burton, he was the guy that they went to when they had any kind of bounty hunter situation, and that he was the guy they sent the limo, pick him up, and take him down to Los Angeles to the studio. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay. I was going to say about Burton. I don't know if it matters, but I stop by and visit his grave every few months.
Really?
And that Catholic cemetery holds the graves of several
Bob
friends.
Burton was quite a character. He was really quite a character.
Yes, he was. And of course, he was also an editor of Soldier of Fortune magazine for a while.
Right.
Oh, did he dine out on that? Anyway, let's touch one more thing about facts mattering at the moment. I'm thinking of, I have one I labeled 120, and this is about who's admired and followed and who's ignored. In this case, we all remember St. Greta Thunberg. I thought of the Children's Crusade when I saw this gal. Because
I'm not sure I don't know who she is. I can't remember.
No, okay. It was just a couple of years ago, she was going on about the climate and having been robbed of her childhood and so on. She was addressing the UN. She was lecturing everybody and telling adults how awful they were and how she hated us all because of what we'd done to the world. And she had nothing. She was just spouting the stuff that her parents told her. Oh, and as it turns out, her parents were both in showbiz. Anyway, she was a darling for almost a year. And whereas the person I was putting up next to her there, that's an actual scientist. That's Dr. Judith Curry. She knows a lot about climate. She knows a lot about how climate evolves. She's published 140 scientific papers. And she says a lot of the climate stuff is a hoax. Not the change itself, but a lot of what's going on about it, and a lot of the crap that's thrown around. So, do we listen to the climate scientist who's had a multi-decade career and 140 papers? No, we listen to the teenager who's screaming at us. But she was slickly marketed, and the scientist was not. And so I get slapped in the face with a flounder that says, facts don't matter.
Yeah. Well, that's the trouble with the fact. I always like to say about facts and so on. I was at a party many years ago when I was going to UCR, University of California, Riverside, and had a party at some guy's house, and these philosophy graduate students were there. And we got to talking and so on. He says, he's talking about a story or facts or some philosophy and so on. He says, you take a cot, a bed, and you take if somebody who lays on the bed would be a little bit bigger than the bed. Well, that's what facts and the truth is you have a truth and you lay it on the bed, and any facts that don't fit that bed, you cut them off. You forget about those.
Yeah,
I always remember that
story.
Yeah, I always remember that story. That's what the guy said.
Yeah, the
philosophy.
The cutting room floor.
Yeah, you make it fit. Whatever philosophy you have, or story you want to tell, and so on, you pick the facts that you want to use for the story, and you forget about
Well,
everything else.
That's the revised motto of the New York Times. All the news that fits, we print.
That's right.
And for those who don't know, the New York Times motto is all the news that's fit to print.
Fit to print, right? Yeah.
Right.
That's about the same.
Oh,
That's anyway. Go ahead.
so I got one more picture for this, and
Okay.
this may I'm thinking of how good old Groucho Marx had the line when he was contradicted by somebody. He said, "Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?" So this one
He
is
was
the
full
picture
of those things.
that
If somebody, if viewers want to look up the Groucho Marx and look at what things that he said and so on. For example, one thing he says, they wouldn't let him into the golf club in Beverly Hills, I guess it was, or someplace, because he was Jewish. And his remark was, I don't want to belong to a club that would take me as a member. That was his line.
in fact, Woody Allen liked that so much that he adopted it himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't join a club that would have me as a member.
Yeah.
So the one that I wanted to bring up a picture with a police chief testifying. It's picture 130. This is again in the Facts Mattering, because this is about, they decided to stop publishing mugshots of bookings because they said it overstates the somebody's propensity for crime. In this case, I think he literally said black and brown men. But anyway, I looked at it and I said, how does publication of mugshots overstate anything? I mean, it may tell an uncomfortable truth that we wish wasn't true and we wish we could fix. I could imagine that easily. I think it's a shame.
What was his reasoning again? Why didn't he publish the?
He wants to stop publishing the mugshots because he says they overstate the propensity for black and brown men to commit crimes. I said, well, then
That could be
why
true.
are they in the mugshot?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
That's
I
true.
mean, they take a mugshot of everybody. I'm sure that if there's some white criminals coming in,
Right.
And I'm sure there are, that they're taking mugshots of those, they were showing them. Anyway, mugshots don't overstate. They just state.
That's the person they want. They're looking for this.
Yes.
You remember? Do you remember in a post office? I remember seeing in Galena.
Yes,
I used to work
yes.
for the post office. In fact,
Yeah.
They always had wanted those that the people they were looking for.
Yeah,
wanted a poster of this people. They don't have that anymore, of course, in the post office.
No, but I remember we used to tell your friends, hey, I saw your picture at the post office.
Yeah, that was a joke. Yeah, I just saw a picture of you at the post office. Yeah, that's right. Good joke.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, overstating. Well, again, that's one of those things that they make up stuff that overstates you shouldn't show them because they were black or brown or with two heads or something like that. But I think to some degree, what it does do, maybe that's what they shouldn't do, is it makes them famous. I've always thought about these people that go out, kill people, and so on and so on. What do they get named, and they got their background. This guy that killed all those kids up in Idaho, for example, he's famous. I mean, he got the death penalty in Idaho, and he deserves that, a slow death. But that's what makes him. For example, the guy that killed over 100 students in Norway, he got a book deal. And when they did a movie about it and so on, they had to pay him off. He's still in prison, thank God, in Norway, but they didn't kill him. They didn't execute him. They don't have it, I guess, the death penalty in Norway and so on. And other people see that and so on. I can be famous. Maybe I get a book deal, and even a movie deal, maybe, and I'll be the star. I don't know.
It's a completely insignificant person making themselves feel significant.
Right, because you've often seen this where people that getting off the subject, I guess, but anyway, you often see this where they go and look at the guy's room, the guy that the guy that was being convicted of the murder and so on, and they see posters and stuff like that of a previous event that Columbine, I think it was one of them, Columbine, like they're worshiping that as, oh, that's what I want to be that famous. Oh my God, I'm.
Yeah,
You
they're
know,
probably telling themselves, why that guy only killed X people. I bet I can kill X plus 5.
yeah.
Then they'll have to talk about me.
I want to talk. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's goofy stuff. Again,
I'll-
goes
I'll-
back to
yeah,
like I
they'll
say,
pop
Ted
'em.
Turner. Maybe he did us did disservice by introducing the 24-hour news. And now there's plenty of channels that do that. Well, the internet, of course. That's a 24-hour, 7 days a week channel.
Yeah.
Twitter, for example.
I don't want to blame the messenger, even though I don't like some of these folks.
Yeah.
Nobody makes you turn it on. Nobody makes you watch it too long, except your own habits. And we need to work on our habits and make them healthier.
You want to talk about, that introduces this, maybe we're getting off of the schedule here, but you want to talk about the guy that's called Elon Musk a Nazi?
Actually,
Along
we're
those
right
lines?
around there anyway. So yeah, let's.
Go on. You decide what you want to do.
And this, look, I like the idea. And here's the concept: is it's 2023. We have a new Congress. We have a new owner of Twitter, and things are a little different. And I want this next portion of it. I keep hearing the song from Aladdin, "A Whole New World." Of course, it's not a whole world. It's not new, but there's a lot of newness in it.
Right.
A new kind of newness. Anyway, let's take a look at. There's a tweet from Alexander Vindman. It's one of the 2023 tweet pictures I have, and again the colors are all added by me. But this is the guy who reported that Trump had a terrible phone call that got him impeached, which turned out to be a giant nothing burger. But here he is saying that Twitter is dying and that's okay, and Elon Musk can't be promoting hate speech, and he basically compares him to Hitler's propaganda minister Goebbels.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I say, oh, that Vindman, anyone he doesn't like is a Nazi.
Yeah, well, you well know my theory on that.
Yes, I do.
The whole Nazi business is a joke because, not a joke, not wrong word.
No, but-
is not operative here because the Nazi era in those days when Nazi was that was terrible. I mean, God, hopefully I was reading watching the movie Escape from Sobibor, which is a death camp in Poland, and that the Jews were taken to barbecued, dead.
Everybody should see that movie. It's a great
By the
movie.
way, it's one of the things I want to talk about, I like to I put that down when I saw that, in fact. Tom Blatt, he was one of the survivors of the Escape from Sobibor. I think like over 400 ran away, and only, like I think 4 or 5 of them survived, and Tom Blatt was one of them. He had Munt's shop at the corner of Las Positas and State Street. They had a big dish out in front. Perhaps not. He was putting in cars, but then he got into the satellite business. At any rate, I knew the guy real well. In fact, I went to his home in Ventura when he talked about his experiences, and he had written some books even by that time, and so on. And he told some tales that would scare you, just that keep you up a few nights. Anyway, that's off the subject. But once I saw that, I wanted to tell people about Tom Blatt. He passed away just
I won't
recently.
mention a name this time, but
We have 34 minutes.
a friend's father, whom I knew quite well when I was a teenager, had a death camp tattoo on his forearm.
Yeah.
And we didn't go into the stories, but you can believe that there was some hair curling stuff behind it.
Yeah. That's
Anyway, I just wanted to touch on. See, Vindman was basically he was a Trump-hating lunatic when he was pushing the phone call thing.
Yeah.
And he's still a Trump-hating lunatic who naturally has to hate everybody else, including Elon Musk now, and compare them with the worst mass murderers that we're acquainted with, or at least he could have called him another Stalin, but who, after all, Stalin had a bigger death count in Butcher's Bill. Anyway, he's a wacky guy, and he's still on Twitter. So yeah, as long he was funny, but in the whole new world realm, I'd also like to touch on our buddy Adam Schiff from Southern California, the
yes,
congressman.
Adam Schiff. Oh yeah.
The congressman whom we
Lied.
called the.
He lied a lot.
Yes, he did. He said that he had a lot of evidence that he didn't have, because it didn't exist, and that it was for him that we coined the term a Schiff show.
Yeah.
So anyway, Adam Schiff was previously the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee,
Right.
and his people hadn't got around to changing his Twitter his Twitter profile. So someone looked at that and he said, since he's not the chairman anymore, and he tweeted to him, "I'm flagging you for violating the impersonation policy
Yeah.
because you're impersonating the chairman."
And just so people know what happened here was Adam Schiff was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and during the Trump years, he became the chairman. Then, of course, when the Democrats took over in 2018, and he's from Burbank. Anyway, he lied and so on about the different things and so on, but the policy in the House. The House of Representatives is that the majority leader in the leader of the two parties now, Democrat and Republican. Pelosi was, of course, the Democratic was the speaker, and but there was also a majority leader, and there's a minority leader in the House also. But they get to choose the people that they want to be on a committee. The Democrats get a Democrat that they want on the committee. Pelosi changed that. She said, no, we don't want that person on the committee. For example, the committee that they had the January 16th. They took two Republicans that they know were sure against Donald Trump. They hate him.
Yes.
Liz Cheney, who is no longer a congresswoman, and the other guy who quit, who said a year ago he said he's going to retire. So but he was on the committee too, and so on. So those are okay. But the rest of the people on the committee, I think it was like 7 Democrats on the committee, but they were sure things as far as getting across. Well, Pelosi started it. She decided who could be on the committee, even though the party itself wanted Adam Schiff, for example, to remain on the committee at least. Keep in mind, Adam, and he's not only not a chairman of the committee, he's not on the committee because he's a security risk. That's what McCarthy said about him, and because he lies and so on. But he has that right, and the Democrats set that up. That's now a tradition. That's what it's going to be. You wanted it that way. That's where it's going to be.
And
it's good for the gander, it's good for the goose, or goose for whatever the expression is.
Haven't we said that so many times where they say, "Oh, we don't like the filibuster. We're going to pull that," and you say,
"Yeah."
You might wish you had it someday.
That's right.
I would be careful with that. And then, of course, you say, well, we're going to eliminate it for this and this, but we're going to keep it for that and the other thing.
Yeah.
And what principle are we invoking again?
Yeah, exactly.
And
of course, Donald Trump named 3 justices to the Supreme Court in the 4 years that he was on. It was the president and so on, and the filibuster would have definitely kept those people off of and so on. But that had changed. What was it, Harry Reid in Nevada?
Yeah.
You wanted it that way? Well, now you got it that way. It's a 6-3 on the Supreme Court, which will be for a few years.
Be careful
Against
what you wish for.
Anyway.
Let's see. I'd like to. One of the things that we're going to be getting is we're going to be getting a few more investigations. And,
as the guy said, they're going to unleash Jim Jordan. Unleash this guy from Ohio, congressman from Ohio. He doesn't wear a suit coat. He's always in a shirt and tie. That's it. This guy, they're going to unleash him onto a lot of people. They're going to regret that.
Well, that's when I'd like to bring up a picture of General Miley from the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Yeah, I want to know I want to know why you had that one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have that one because of all the potential investigations around him. Look at him. He undermined his commander-in-chief. He was secretly cozy with China, actually calling China and telling them, don't worry, we won't let Trump do too much.
Yeah.
And of course, we would say he armed the Taliban and that he presided over the horrible routing of in Afghanistan and left them with $80 billion worth of armaments. And of course, and he's also been promoting critical race theory in the military.
Yeah.
So I look at that stuff and I think, remind me of what it was that, remind me of what it was that General Flynn got screwed for. Oh yeah, he talked to somebody in the Russian embassy when in fact he was going to be, because of his office, he was going to be talking to people in the Russian embassy all the time. And he just thought he would, he may have made a mistake, but they got him to plead guilty to something mostly because they were saying they were going to find some way to ruin his son's life.
Yeah,
I mean,
this stuff
was rough, really rough.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I thought, one of the problems with Flynn was he would have been very effective for Trump, and they didn't seem to want to have any of that.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a double standard right off the bat. If Miley was talking to some Chinese guy and telling him, well, forget about what the president is doing, we're not going to go to war, or so on and so forth. That's not what the military is supposed to be. That he's the president of the United States is the commander-in-chief, and he commands the army, and he tells the Chinese what he's going to do or what he's not going to do, that kind of thing. And of course, Obama, when he was talking to the president of Russia and says, well, just, it was on tape. He didn't know it was being recorded. He says, no, don't worry. Just once I get elected, we'll take care of all this stuff and so on. He hadn't been elected yet. He did what Flynn did.
No, he had gotten reelected. Obama was talking with the Russian President Medvedev, and he was saying, now tell Vladimir that I can be a lot more flexible when I'm reelected.
Yeah, right.
So if I have to say anything stern, don't take it too seriously. Make sure Vladimir knows that. That was a beauty. Actually, I think I have that video somewhere, but not handy. I'm not sure where we are in our timeline.
We are 25 minutes.
We have 25 minutes left?
Right.
Okay, left.
How about the FBI raid? You want to show that video?
That
I want to see about
so
this.
funny.
Is the Mar-a-Lago, right?
I'd love to do that. It's about a minute 27, and it's really well worth it. Let's get a little humor out of that, and we'll be able to talk to FBI afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Show the video, Mike.
So if my illustrious producer is able to accommodate us, it'll be a thing of beauty.
Here it is.
I'm FBI Special Agent Hetfield. We recently raided founder and CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell. We expected to find evidence of election tampering, fraud, support for Trump, which, as you know, is highly illegal. We didn't find any of that, though. What we did find was a good night's sleep. I gotta say, politics aside, these pillows that we confiscated from Mike Lindell are the most comfortable, nicest pillows that I've ever slept on. I mean, all the guys in the office can't stop talking about how comfortable and soft they really are.
Before we raided Mike Lindell as a political stunt, I was using a competitor's pillow. It was not a good pillow.
I can't sleep. How can I sleep?
See, pillows.
I'm just
I told you,
a arm of the Biden administration.
But now, after a long day raiding Biden's political opponents, investigating concerned parents at school board meetings, and egging on disturbed young men to commit acts of terror, I can finally catch a few Z's with MyPillow's patented adjustable fill stay cool technology and fluffy design that will not go flat, no matter how many Trump supporters I beat with it.
Where were you on January 6th? Scum! You want me to do it again? I'll hit you again! Is that what you want? Go ahead! It's so comfortable.
MyPillow, the official pillow of the FBI.
That's fine. I hadn't seen that, Rob. That's funny. Should I tell the
Yeah,
rumor
man.
that I told you before the show? Should I tell you about the rumor of the FBI guys going in there? They went into Melanie's boudoir, and
Melania?
and it looks like somebody was trying on the underwear, Melanie's underwear, and it may not have only been the women that were the FBI. That's just the rumor. That's the thing I heard on the internet.
Wow, way back.
Okay, I made it up. Okay, ladies, I just
Yeah,
made
you
that
did.
up.
But apropos, the good old Rush Limbaugh of happy memory had he had somebody do a song for him when there was a famous sports commentator who wound up getting some publicity because he had been wearing panties and had been noticed, and it was to the tune of Winter Wonderland, but it was walking around in women's underwear. So anyway, everything reminds me of something, and that certainly reminded me of Rush and his songs.
Yeah, that was, and this as an aside to this now, of course, they broke into Mar-a-Lago because of the classified papers and so on. And now recently, of course, Biden, well, this is breaking now, basically. Biden found another stash of his someplace else of papers that he had taken as a vice president and taken out. And it had some kind of classified markings on it or something like that, whatever that means and so on. And of course, the media has picked that up, that Fox News, for sure. And thank God for Fox News, as many say, has been made that a big story and so on. And it's a big story not so much because of what he did, of what Biden has done and so on, but the same thing that Biden has done. Mar-a-Lago was the same thing. How do you know Biden, Donald Trump even suggested that these are the papers they want? Obama, when he left office, took away 33 million documents. You think that he knows that every one of those documents is not classified or not classified? And he's keeping them and so on? I mean, they're making this up. And if they wanted to do it, they started it by at Mar-a-Lago and so on. Well, every ex-president now, his house will be raided. And Biden has a lot of houses, I guess. He has a lot of places where he keeps stuff and so on. Well, when if he leaves office, vertical or horizontal, they're going to go. Now, you set the precedent. You Democrats set the precedent, and using the FBI, 50 agents went in and went in that raid or something like that, or 20, or well, I forgot the number, but it's a huge number, and went in there, and that's you started it. We'll finish it. When you start doing something like that, it's going to happen. What?
Something interesting about classified papers is the president has an unlimited ability to declassify.
Yeah, right.
So, in fact, Trump, simply in taking those papers with him, could be construed as having declassified them. Now, as it turns out, those papers that Biden had, he took as vice president.
Right.
Vice president does not have such a power.
Yeah, doesn't have that
So
power.
one might imagine that Trump was necessarily innocent because of his presidential power, and the same could not necessarily be applied to Joe Biden.
You know, the other side of the coin is who classifies documents? Who is it exactly that says that this is a classified thing? And I might suggest, I might suggest that can be overused. I have a document that I know says things that I don't want it to say, and in a moment of error or whatever, I was pissed off at somebody. I wrote this letter and so on. I don't want anybody to see that. How am I going to do that? Classified. Boom.
Yeah.
Now nobody can see it now for the next 50 years.
Or if they can see it, they certainly can't disclose it. Now, I actually met the father of the hydrogen bomb, Dr. Edward Teller.
Yeah, I
when
met him once
he came
too.
to UCSB.
In an elevator.
And he was actually speaking against overuse of classification. He wanted to see a lot of more things declassified. Somebody asked him about whether he knew of a lot of things that were overly classified. And he said yes, and they said, "Well, what?" And he said, "I can't tell you."
Yeah, because then you go to jail. Then you really will go to jail because or get convicted. Now you have to document that you're releasing to the press or somebody like that and so on, which you're not supposed to do, even if you have seen it, which you weren't supposed to do in the first place. Yeah, that's it gets to be a mess. I've often thought about that. Who actually makes a classified document? Wouldn't it be, maybe they are classified. We don't want it, but what when you're leaving office and so on? Well, I want to make that classified information because I don't want anybody to know that I did this. I did certain things, but I now regret. I should never have done it. But I don't want anybody I don't want it to get into the history books. It becomes in the cloud so that the people's never going to be forgotten. That's what I like about this, the new internet stuff. Got to watch out what you do these days because everything you do is in the cloud. Everything.
Yeah, I'd like to say something about that.
Go ahead.
You ever use the online archive called the Wayback Machine to look at things that we were on the internet 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago?
No, I haven't
No?
seen it.
Well, I have. And it's kind of handy, but as it turns out, people can get things expunged from the Wayback Machine or hidden from it if they have the right kind of clout. So, for one thing, lots of people who have, I guess you would say, commercial sites, they say, well, I have a proprietary interest in the stuff that's on that site, and you can't serve it up just because somebody wants to use the Wayback Machine to see what was on my site 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that there's also, let's see, there's a journalist named Taylor Lawrence. She is kind of famous lately for doxing, for publishing the personal information of private citizens. Like there's a woman who on Twitter went by Libs of TikTok, and she was famous for just plain old putting deranged videos on that people had already posted, and she didn't even comment on them or anyway, a lot of folks were upset. And so Taylor Lawrence found out where she lived and what her real name was, and she published all that stuff. Anyway, it turns out that there's a lot of stuff that Taylor Lawrence would rather you didn't know, but it turns out that her father has a high position in the Internet Archive, so her stuff got hidden.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. But then it does it actually get somebody takes it off and puts it someplace else, and it comes up later on. Like you knew this information. You know this information. It's out there. Maybe you didn't hear. You see exactly what they were talking about, but you know there was some information that was hidden. So that somebody wanted to do it.
Well, one thing
it never leaves the cloud. It's always out there. You can't get rid of it. Anyway, that's my take on it.
You can't find it.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Guys like you can find stuff like that. Guys like me, I'm hard to find my shoes in the morning.
Remember, toes go in first.
Yeah, right.
So,
well, let's see. What else do you want to talk about? We have 15 minutes left.
We have we got first. Call me mean-spirited, but I want to have a couple of laughs at Joe Biden's expense. So
okay.
I have two very short clips of
Joe
Biden. So let's just show each of those. We have, I think they're about 9 or 10 seconds each. So.
Here they come.
All right, then we have a good laugh at his expense. Or maybe we'll be sympathetic.
He's working on it. He's going to get here. It is.
By bringing down the cost of everyday things they have to work their families through. It's not just food and energy, which is critical. We brought down the cost of energy.
Yeah. It's not just energy. We brought down the cost of energy. Yeah, he keeps that up. He'll be as bad as Kamala Harris. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I got one more of them, and I'm sure that
see the next one, Mike.
In our fantastic.
And by the way, if they do, that means not a joke. Everybody, that's why we were defeated in 2018 when they tried to do. We went to 54 states.
54 states. Reminds me of Obama and his 57 or 58 states. Maybe that's where he learned it.
Yeah, I got I like that. The video shows you that I can only hope that he runs in 2024, but I just can't see people voting for this guy that can barely remember facts. The other one, he said his son was killed in Vietnam. Bo, he died in a hospital bed, which is a tragic thing. He died of a disease as a young man and so on. I really do feel sorry for Joe Biden because of that and so on. Of course, he's got this Hunter, his other son, and so on. He's not quite the same guy that Bo was. At any rate, Joe has made a lot of. They do a thing on, I believe, on Fox News. What's her name? Show Angle. What's her name? Laura
Ingraham.
Laura Angle. They got a guy on there that comes up every night, basically, with something that Biden has said that they didn't know it. Like I said, telling people before the show started that when he was down in Mexico here recently with the president of Mexico and the president of Canada, and the three of them, and they were walking by, and one or the other, the president of Mexico or the president of Canada, had his hand on the President Biden when he was walking down the stairs, a little couple of stairs off a stage and so on. And when he went back up, they wanted to make sure that he didn't trip and fall. They knew something we didn't know, I guess, basically. But I kind of feel sorry for the guy. They pull out. They did with Gerald Ford. When he tripped on the stairs on the plane. And who was the guy that smelled tomato and tomato and all that stuff when he was the vice president under Biden?
Dan Quayle.
Yeah, Dan Quayle and so on.
Dan Quayle.
They pull out the little stuff like that I don't think people really care one way or another. Let's face it, we all do. I probably made several mistakes on this show tonight, in fact, some of the facts and so on.
Oh, yeah.
But you'll have to look it up. In the cloud. It's up there. The facts are up there. Anyway, we did the FBI. How about this church commission?
Yeah, no, this is actually something we definitely need to touch on before closing out the show. So first, I should give people a little background. We have a video about this, but 50 years ago, I think it was Senator Frank Church.
Frank Church, senator from Idaho, I believe it was.
Yeah, he was. The Church Commission was a congressional commission that was investigating the actions of the FBI and the CIA, as far as how they were used against Americans and as political operatives. And even as I would, Frank Church was saying, this is not to destroy the agencies or reduce their effectiveness, but we must be sure, since there are agencies, and they must be used correctly and with respect to people's rights.
Right.
So that. I'm sure it won't be called a church commission, but people are talking about it that way because it doesn't have a name yet. But I think this is one of the things that that McCarthy, who is our new Speaker of the House, this is one of the things that, he promised a lot of stuff, and a lot of what was going on in the 15 or 16 votes before he got confirmed was they were saying, remember that stuff you promised us?
Yeah.
I want that in writing. I want to really get it. I don't want to be somebody who voted for you because you said you'd do something and you say, who are you? Yeah. So anyway, if we have that, the Church Commission thing, it's about a minute 20 or so on Tucker Carlson. I'd love to be able to roll that. And then we can talk about what's going on there.
So we spent all week telling you about the fight on Capitol Hill over who's going to be the next Speaker of the House. Of course, at the beginning, the presumption was Kevin McCarthy was going to get the job, and then a group of his colleagues stood up and said, not so fast, and for a couple of days, they successfully held him off. Well, during that period, Kevin McCarthy decided to make some changes in the way he's going to administer the House and its priorities. And one of them is something that we've been talking about and certainly thinking about for quite some time, which is the creation of a committee modeled after the famous Frank Church Committee of the 1970s that will look a lot more closely at the influence of the FBI and the various intel agencies on domestic politics. They're not allowed to interfere in domestic politics. They clearly have been. and maybe Congress could get to the bottom of that. In fact, they're the only ones who can. Well, Kevin McCarthy's going to do that. Looks like he's going to be Speaker, and his plan, we have just learned, is to appoint really one of the most honest and dogged members of Congress, we'll just say it, Thomas Massie of Kentucky, to head that committee, the new church committee run by Congressman Thomas Massie, who, by the way, joins us now to announce it. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Tucker. It looks like I'll probably be on that committee, but I can't say that I will run it. I will say that, while we've seen this drama unplay on the House floor, behind the scenes, along with those people who withheld their vote for Kevin McCarthy until they got the transformational changes in the House and the way the House works, we were working with to make sure that this church committee, a suggestion that you've had, and thank you for suggesting that I should be on it. I don't know if you're clairvoyant or just made the future happen, but it's happening. We were making sure that this committee wasn't going to be fenced in, that it wasn't just going to be a show committee. We wanted to make sure that we have full jurisdiction, that if we stumble onto something at another three-letter agency, that they don't say, whoa, that's out of your jurisdiction. Or if we find out there's more than a violation of the First Amendment right, if there are other civil rights that are being violated, we've secured a guarantee that we can go wherever the evidence leads us.
So everyone who's attempted this, and few have attempted it, but Frank Church certainly attempted it, and the Congress attempted it again in 1976 with their Special Committee on Assassinations. Those committees bumped right headlong into a wall of secrecy, and it drove a lot of them, those members, kind of crazy. Are you prepared for this honestly awesome task?
I think we are, and we've been laying the groundwork for that. Dan Bishop, my colleague from North Carolina, and Jim Jordan, we've been talking to the Intel Committee, which has the authority to get all of that information. By the way, a lot of this is going to play out down in the SCIF. You're going to have to trust the people that are put on this committee. And I'll tell you what, if there's something fishy going on, I'll come out of the SCIF and tell you. But a lot of it will be behind closed doors. There'll be classified information. But if we find anything illegal or unconstitutional, we will bring it forward.
Well, in your specific case, I believe you, and I'm so grateful that you're doing this, and I really hope that if you find anything like that, to the extent you can tell us about it, you will. Thomas Massie of Kentucky, thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.
Let's make one comment on that. I guess they're talking about the FBI too, of course. That's what it is, and so on. Let's face it, the FBI was no. J. Edgar Hoover who started said we took over that just after the First World War. Who took over that agency and then renamed it basically to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. J. Edgar Hoover was no saint. There was his own little fiefdom there, and nobody wanted to mess with this guy. I know the story about John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy. They wanted to, kind of put J. Edgar Hoover out to pasture and so on. Well, that went by the wayside because he had a lot of information on John and Bobby and probably Joe Kennedy, their father, and so on and so forth that he didn't want known. Anyway.
Yeah, he was a blackmailer. Let's not mince words. The guy blackmailed people. And of course,
I'm sure there's a lot of fine individuals in the FBI. I know that I know people that were retired FBI agents and so on. Good people, the vast majority of them. But there's certain people in power, at the hierarchy of the FBI, that have a political bias to what they want to do. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, Bob.
No, not at all. I was just saying we know that Hoover was a blackmailer, but look, just during the Trump era, we know that we had FBI agents who promised each other that they wouldn't let Trump do anything. First, they didn't want to let him get elected.
Yeah, right.
And then but I thought, that's not really the FBI's job.
Exactly.
The FBI has a job, and that's not it. So, I need them to be nonpartisan. Now, if we have time, I'd love to throw in my last video, which is just a few seconds worth of Chip Roy being interviewed on CNN, because it's about what was going on as far as the negotiations before we got the speaker.
A little less than 4 minutes and so on. Chip Roy was a congressman.
Well, this is
congressman from Texas.
30 seconds or so.
Okay.
Let's get him.
Well, first of all, let's remember that a little temporary conflict is necessary in this town in order to stop this town from rolling over the American people. I don't think anybody on either side of the aisle could say with a straight face that they think that Washington is doing good work for the American people on a regular basis and isn't broken. We have to work to fix this place. And look, some of the tensions you saw on display when we saw some of the the interactions there between Mike Rogers and Matt Gaetz, some of that is we need a little of that. We need a little of this sort of breaking the glass in order to get us to the table, in order to fight for the American people and to change the way this place is dysfunctional.
We have 3 minutes, Rob.
Okay. Anyway, I was concerned about the way that this stuff was working. I was concerned about us not having a speaker for a while. But now that I have some idea of what people were holding out for, it looks to me like it was probably a pretty good idea, and I'm glad they did it. And I didn't really think there was really any chance that we were not going to have a Speaker McCarthy. It just and I had people telling me, "Oh, look, he's will have negotiated with and caved into the worst of the right wing." I looked then I said, if a few Democrats had voted for him, then that could have been taken off the table, but you didn't.
Yeah.
So you could have just jumped in there and voted for him yourself,
Right.
but no.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you 100%. I think I had my misgivings too about these radicals, the right wingers and so on. The guy from Florida and Roy himself and other people and so on. But then they really good. And once it got down to it, it was for example, I only got a couple seconds here. For example, it was here again. It was Nancy Pelosi. The thing had been that any member could stand up and say, "We want to have a vote on the vote of confidence in this." The current speaker and so on, and that had to be a vote. She took that away. Now you have the entire district has to call for it to begin with and so on. She took it away. Now they want it back again, and which was with Nancy Pelosi took it away and then back again. Well, you wanted it. That's the way you're going to have it. Anyway, that's about all the time we have, Rob. But any final comment?
I am wearing pants.
Okay.
I'm sure you're all reassured. I know I am.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Those of you that are watching, we're going to be here every other week on Thursday night. Well, I guess it's taped. I don't know when they actually air it and so on. Although we're going to get a lot more space now with YouTube and other venues that we can see it and so on. And please get a comment. I think they showed the web page or the text, whatever it was, the email. You can send them to us for questions and comments and so on. Believe me, I've have been called a lot of names in my life, so don't have to worry about what you want to say to me. And say to me or Rob for that matter. Anyway, thank you very much, and we'll see you again.
Oh, yeah. Keep a civil tongue in your head.
We're out.